Welcome to the CrossFit Max podcast.
What is going on, team? Thanks for tuning in. We got a very fun episode and hopefully will provide a lot of value. We're talking about one of the most important things for you guys to maximize your results in the gym and how we allow our athletes to do this over our 12-week training blocks. So a lot of good stuff. We hope you enjoyed. If you haven't yet, give us a rating and a review. We would greatly appreciate it. And let's get to it. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's get in it. What's up, guys?
Hi, everybody. It's me.
It's Susie and Brandon here for your favorite podcast. No, you can't be yawning now.
Oh, I'm tired.
What the heck, love?
I'm so tired.
You're so tired? Do you have a baby or something?
No.
Is Thomas keeping you up at night?
Bro.
Not me. He doesn't keep me up. I just sleep all night.
Yeah, it must be nice.
Hey, I found out some messed up stuff, everyone who's listening.
Up. It's
messed up.
Perfectly natural.
So, in case you didn't know, Susie is breastfeeding.
Yeah.
By the way, this is the banter topic. This is not the main topic of the day. Susie is breastfeeding, and I have not tried her breast milk yet.
Like, literally all of my friends have. You're the only one
that's
who won't
also
try
messed
it.
up.
You're literally the only one who won't try it. I don't get why you're making it such a... It's delicious.
Oh, is it delicious?
I don't know.
Anyways,
you should try
so
it.
Susie tells me the other day that she was
You're
at...
not even a little bit curious?
No. She was at her parents' the other day. She said that... So Susie also, because of Thomas's reflux, she hasn't been able to consume any dairy. And when she does consume any dairy products, Thomas is
A
like
nightmare.
a completely different baby. Cries a lot, is fussy, doesn't want to eat, doesn't sleep that much. So we've cut out all dairy.
We, as in just Susie.
As in just Susie. I've done a pretty good job of cutting out most of my dairy as well. Most, not all.
I mean,
nearly.
I tend to disagree, but whatever.
But
live like me for 1 week, I dare you.
that being said, Susie has cut out all dairy. So she goes over to her parents' place last week.
Yeah.
And they only have
Milk,
like dairy milk.
Yeah.
And she has her tea, and she tells me that she put her breast milk in her tea.
Well, because I have no dairy in my breast milk because it's dairy free.
I was like, why didn't she just drink the tea by itself?
No, that's fucked up.
So she filled me in that she...
I use my breast milk to put milk in my tea.
Oh, we're at a desperate level here, love.
Well, I didn't want to put regular cow's milk, and I didn't want to drink it black, so I was like, oh my God, perfect. And it was like sweet and warm and creamy and delicious.
Was it? Was it better than the almond milk that you would put in?
Oh my God, way better. Almond
Was it
milk
actually?
Sucks. Breast milk is amazing.
Wow. Did
You have
like
to try it.
thicken it up?
No.
I want to know from you guys. You guys all come into the gym, and
Oh,
after you guys...
for sure. Any guy whose wife has breastfed has been man enough to try it.
I don't know. To me, it's a little
You know
strange.
how much energy required? I think it's like walking 7 miles a day extra just to produce breast milk for your baby.
It's pretty
I'm
good.
doing all this work and you're not even putting any respect on my name.
Because I want Thomas to get all the energy.
Anyways, it was delicious. No shame. If you want to try my breast milk, you're welcome to. I know you're curious. My friends.
Shots of breast milk are selling for $2.99.
Yo, you can make a fortune. Breast milk is expensive. Bro. I don't have any extra, though. I'm not like an overproducer. That would be cool.
Yeah, unfortunately not. But, second banter topic is we booked our flights to Australia.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about how your farts smell like Thomas's poos.
No, that we're not.
Oh, we weren't trying to talk about that on the podcast?
We could.
Because Brandon just farted in the podcast room, and I was like, oh my God, babe, did you know that your farts smell exactly like our baby's poos?
I waited until us sealed the door behind us just to let it out.
Sicko.
Yeah.
Anyway, so genetically, Brandon and Thomas's shits smell the same.
You're welcome.
Anyways, okay, on to our third banter topic. We booked our tickets to Australia.
Yay.
You.
We're heading there for the third consecutive year in a row. Last year we went.
What is our life? Like, this is amazing.
Last year we went when Susie was pregnant, so she had little T in her belly.
Yeah,
at
it was
the
like
time.
20 weeks, I think, like halfway.
And this week we're gonna bring little T. That's gonna be exciting.
I'm terrified. I'm already tired.
Yeah, it's gonna be 24 hours of traveling with a baby.
Then we're going to have a jet-lagged baby.
I had a couple people reach out to me because they said that they had gone with their newborn for a few hours, and it was quite the ride.
We don't have a newborn, though. He's going to be 7 months old.
Well, newborn, baby, you know what I mean.
No, it's not the same. They're vastly different. Newborns are crazy.
But yeah, they said that they went on their trip with their child, I guess. What would you say? Baby,
just like a baby.
A baby, all right? Not newborn. Newborn is till 3 months, right?
Who is writing to? Who are these imaginary people that are writing to?
There was a few people that wrote to me. Anyways, so they wrote to me, and they said that one of them went to Belgium, I think, and they said that was a 6-hour flight or 7-hour flight.
Oh my God.
And they said that was interesting, and yeah. And then we have some friends traveling.
Interesting, like good interesting or like stressful interesting?
Well, I think it was more on the stressful, interesting side of things.
I feel like, my logic is the flight is so long, he's bound to sleep at least some of it.
Yes.
Like our baby can't stay awake for more than like 3 hours in a row. There's no way he's not going to sleep on the plane.
Yeah. We did get the preferred seating. We had to select the seats that has the bassinet for him to be able to sleep in. So we got the bassinet seat. I'm excited for that because we have some extra leg room, which will be good for me.
True. That's like a sneaky benefit.
I don't know if that's going to affect your...
Actually, it's going to negatively affect my travel because... Why? I feel like I'm just like really outing myself on the podcast today, but I like to tuck my feet into the pocket of the chair in front of me, so I use it as like a footrest. So I'm not gonna have any footrest on the plane.
I guess we could put our bags. Oh no, you can't, right?
No,
you're not allowed.
You have to put your bag up, so I'm not gonna have access to my bag or a footrest.
Well, what do you do with you put it underneath your seat? Like, because you actually have usually you have your bag and you have to put it somewhere, like in front of the.
Yeah, but the person in the preferred seating, there's no seat in front of you to put it under, so you have to put it in the overhead bin.
Oh, you can't even just have like a little.
But I think when you're like up and the seatbelt sign is not on, you can have your bag at your feet. It's just that you can't be like free for all when the seatbelt sign is off.
Side note.
Anyways, so I can't tuck my feet into the chair in front of me.
Little Mel Miller, your mama over there.
Little Mel Miller, my mom,
is telling me that her feet can't.
She can't reach the floor.
She doesn't reach the floor when she's on the airplane.
My mom is like 4'11", and that's so funny. So like when she sits on the back of the chair, her feet just dangle.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's actually hilarious.
Love you, Mama Miller.
That's so funny.
But yeah, so we're super stoked. We're gonna be going for 26 days this year.
That's gonna be so worth it. Like I feel I am very intimidated when I think about the plane ride and I think about the jet lag. But then I think about the fact that my parents will be living with us, or will be living with my parents for 4 weeks, and I'm going to have zero responsibilities.
Yeah, I don't know about zero, but it's going to be definitely fun to have them. Last year we had a really great trip together. Actually, last 2 years, but I feel like last year was a much longer trip. The year before that was...
very quick. 2 weeks, Christmas break.
Yeah.
It was hectic.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's also really fun. A really, really close family friend of mine since I've known since the day I was born had a baby 2 months after us. So our babies are going to meet.
Yeah, it's cool. And we're going to get Thomas to do all the koalas. Yeah, all the Aussie things. Get him in the koala sanctuary, which would be cool because we always call him our little koala. He has koala everything at home.
Yeah, so. If you know our child, he's at all times there's at least one koala related toy or item of clothing attached to him.
Yep. Anyways, enough baby talk. That was fun. I'm excited. Not for my farts, but for...
Yeah. Not for your farts, not to try my breast milk, but for our trip to Australia.
Hell yeah.
But maybe like the goal will be between now and next week, I'll find a way to spike whatever you're eating with my breast milk
like
the way you spiked me with your fucking creatine. Yes. And then next week, I'm going to be like, don't worry, babe. I have a banter topic.
Nice.
And I'm going to tell the people how I forced you to drink it and you didn't even know.
The thing is, I only drink...
It's not your coffee you have to worry about, baby.
I only drink what my food?
Anything. You won't even know.
I only drink water.
You're literally not gonna even know, and you're just gonna consume it.
I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be just like entering.
I'm gonna squeeze my tit over your face in the night.
Watch out! I have a heavy latch. Okay.
Yuck. Okay, I'm done. We're gonna wake up and be like, what? What just happened?
We're gonna go into our actual topic for the day.
If you made it past all of that, thank you. You're the real one.
Yeah, enough of these new parents talking about their babies and stuff. Let's get to the juicy stuff of today, the CrossFit stuff.
The real reason that
the
people
stuff
are
that
here.
people are here for the CrossFit Max podcast.
I tend to think that people come for the banter topic and stick around for the other stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. Our banter topic seems to be getting better, and our content seems to be getting worse.
I feel like the banter topic like eats into like 30 minutes of the episode sometimes, and I'm like, oh, whoops.
Yeah.
Well, here's some health tips while we're at it. Okay, today we're talking progressive overload.
We're talking about one of the main things that is going to help athletes make serious gains inside the gym.
We love gains.
And we're talking about we're gonna refer to our program design. Okay, we're back. Sorry, there was a little bit of a baby incident here, so we had to make a little bit of a hard edit here. But let's go back into it. All right, we're talking about progressive overload, and we're going to use the CrossFit Max training philosophy here.
Yeah.
So in case you guys didn't know, if you're a non-CrossFit Max athlete, if you're listening,
what are you doing
from somewhere around the world,
fair enough.
Then I'll let you know that we do things in 12-week blocks here. So what is progressive overload? Progressive overload is having this, natural progression to the different types of training modalities, I guess you could say. So, for example, let's just use one of our main focuses at the CrossFit Max training block. This 12-week cycle, we are going over back squats. Mm-hmm. Back squats is the number one major priority in our 12-week block. We have 3 major goals to work on, and then we have 2 sub goals. Back squats.
We did a whole episode on our 12-week block not that long ago that you guys could go check out.
Yep. I don't know if we went over this specific one.
I think we did.
Did we actually?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. I don't know
if
you're
not?
right. I don't think so. No, I think it's been several weeks, maybe even months since we've done that. But anyways.
Really? I'm sure one of the banter topics was like, what are the goals?
Oh, maybe. Now, for back squats in our previous 12-week cycle, it was one of the sub goals, meaning we did a lot of high volume back squats.
Oh, yes. That was
so we did a lot of higher rep stuff where we did sets of 12, 10s, and 8s. And the objective with that was to get people to do a lot of volume, a lot of repetitions, and to also get comfortable with the movement. This way, in this 12-week block, it is our number one priority. It is our number one strength priority in this set here, in this cycle, and we're working low volume, so like really, really heavy weights on the bar.
Yes.
So what does progressive overload look like in something like the back squat?
Let's talk about it.
Now, you can do it in a variety of different ways. You could change the sets, right? You can add more sets. You could add more repetitions. You can add more weight on the bar, or you could make the movement more challenging by increasing by implementing a tempo, which is what exactly we have been doing in the first 6 weeks. We're on week 5 out of 12 in this training block. And what we've been doing is we've been introducing tempo into the back squats.
Okay.
The point of this is to load the muscles under greater time under tension, and to also be able to work the mechanics of the lift. So what we did on week 1 of the training block is we had, I should have looked at this. Hold on. We had 4 sets, 3 reps, where we had a tempo of 4-1-X1. So just to give a quick and easy breakdown for what the heck does 4-1-X1 tempo mean, it essentially means 4 seconds on the way down, a full 1 second pause in the bottom. X
like
means
a 1 Mississippi.
Yeah. X means explode up. And then the last number means 1 second at the top. So think of it down, in the bottom, up at the top here. That's how you always read tempo. So that was on week number 1, where we had the 4 sets, 3 repetitions, and that particular tempo is actually a relatively easier tempo. Essentially what we're doing is we're just slowing down the descent part of the lift, and that's the easiest part of the lift. The easiest part is always going down.
True
The
that.
hardest part, depending on, I'd say arguably depending on your mobility and how good you are at the bottom of the squat, either the hardest part is going to be in the bottom of the squat or
Or the way
probably
up.
standing up. For
Right.
most people, it's going to be standing up with that weight.
Definitely.
But for some people, you know, if we just use Susie and myself as examples, Susie could hang out in the bottom of the squat for probably
days.
a long time. You get me to sit in the bottom of the squat, and after like 30 seconds, I'm like, hey, this is hurting. Like, this is really uncomfortable. Like, can I please get out of this position, you know? So for me, like, the bottom position is a little bit harder than the getting up portion. But,
Yeah.
you know,
For me, it's all about the, lifting the bar. That's
getting the bar up. Yeah. So how do we progress this to the next week? How do we do this in week 2? Well, we actually kept the exact same strength series where we did 4 sets, 3 reps.
Right.
However, we changed the tempo, and I actually made the bottom position a little bit harder. So we introduced a tempo of 3-2x1, which means now 3 seconds on the way down, which isn't that hard to do. You know, maybe a normal back squat takes about 1.5 to 2 seconds to get down there. So 3 seconds to go down is pretty easy. It's just, hey, let's just
Slow it down a
control
bit,
the
yeah.
descent just a little bit more. 2-second pause in the bottom of that squat, which that's a long time. That's not 1-2. That's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then stand up.
Yeah.
Right? And then we had X1 at the end there. So explode up, stand up as hard as you can, and then only 1 second at the top
Before the
as
next
well.
rep.
And then on the 3rd week of doing this, we had exact same sets and reps of 4 sets, 3 reps. But now we are doing a 3-second descent again, 3-second pause in the bottom. Now that's a really long time to sit in the bottom of the squat, and it felt like a really long time to sit in the bottom of the squat.
Before the podcast, actually.
And then explode up, and then only 1 second at the top here. All right. So this is one way that allows our athletes to progressively overload, right? Every week you can kind of try your best to pick the same weight. But now what we're doing is we're making the harder positions a little bit more challenging, right?
And over the weeks you can also be increasing a little bit on the weight if it's feasible.
Yeah, some people will see like a little bit of like a natural curve going upwards of like the weight on the bar.
That's what I'm experiencing so far into this block.
Yeah.
This is actually fun, like just on a personal side, this is the first 12-week block in like a year where I feel like I'm progressing fitter as the 12 weeks go, because obviously last pretty much the whole year, as the 12-week cycles were going on, I was getting more pregnant, so I was getting less fit.
Yeah. The
so
weight was going down.
Yeah. So this is the first time. This is the first full 12-week block where I was there for week 1, and I'm like now in week 5, and I'm noticing that in the back squat specifically, not only is the time being programmed longer, so the movement is becoming more difficult, I'm able to increase on the weight as well.
Yeah. And so we're about 5 weeks into this training block here, and we've had 3 exposures on the back squat. So we don't necessarily hit it every single week, but we try to get it almost every single week, at least maybe once every week and a half, let's just say. And how are we going to change this? Well, the first 6 weeks, the way I designed it was we're going to introduce tempo, and we're going to really work the mechanics of the movement and start to allow people to get heavy barbells on their back, because the sets are low. Like 4 sets is not like a crazy amount of sets.
3 reps.
3 reps is not a lot.
Quite manageable.
Yeah, it's 12 reps total. They're only doing 12 reps, but the tempo is pretty aggressive, right? Now, once we have 1 more week of training like this, and we're going to introduce probably a 4-2x1. So we're going to go very similar to week 1, where it take 4 seconds to go down. We're going to introduce a 2-second tempo in the bottom. So you're holding that position, and then we stand up, right?
And
so
would we keep the sets and the reps the same?
Exactly, yeah. And then after week 6, for the last 6 weeks of the training program, we're going to scratch the tempo. Just no more tempo. Let's just load up the bar, and let's start going really heavy here.
Is this kind of like when we talk about when we're teaching people the movement, we want to like nail the technique or whatever before we add the intensity? Is that kind of like the philosophy we're applying here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the thing that I love about tempo is that it allows us to work on the actual technical aspect of the lift.
Because I feel like a lot of people, this is like universal that I've seen, like struggle with getting the depth, especially when the barbell starts to get heavy. But the tempo, you can't cheat the depth because you're hanging out there for 3 seconds. We're going to be able to tell if your bum breaks parallel or not. And so what I feel like this is amazing, great programming on your part. We're spending 6 weeks getting low and staying low in that squat, building that strength, and also just building the muscle memory of like, this is the bottom of my squat, not like when people kind of barely get their bum past their knee crease. You know, we're spending 3 Mississippis in the bottom of a squat where our bum is below parallel. We're like almost downloading that sensation into your muscles. Like, this is the bottom of your squat. This is where depth goes.
So we call motor control. So your brain and your body working together to get into that position.
I knew there would be a word for it. I knew you would know the word.
Yeah. And that's why I freaking love tempo, because you're getting into that full range of motion that you're talking about, where your muscles are fully stretched out, right? Your quads are stretched, your hamstrings are pulling, your glutes are just ripping back there, you know, they're fully lengthened position, which if we're trying to build a nicer lower body, that is the way we got to do it. And we're also,
that's why CrossFit Max girls have the best booties.
whoa. And the
boys.
guys. And yeah, so
I just don't look at the boy butts.
Oh, sure.
Except for yours.
And yeah, so getting into that full range of motion, it allows us to work on the technique. It also, you know, we see the biggest flaws when we just go from learning how to do the technique straight into the intensity factor. That's why we always have those 3 tiers where we have technique first, consistency, and then intensity.
That's where I was.
You can give me one good back squat. But can you give me 2? Can you give me 3? Can you give me 5? Can you give me 20 good back squats?
Like, have you nailed the back squat?
Yeah. Are you getting full range of motion every single rep? Or maybe you're getting full range of motion, but then your pelvis is starting to tilt, your knees are collapsing in. We want to see good technique. We got to go back to the good technique. All right, let's work on this stuff. And so this is why I love doing the tempo stuff, because it allows us to work on the technique. It allows us to work on the consistency. It allows us to slow things down, and it also allows us to start loading up a little bit heavier as we go. I think
like when you're working in tempo, it highlights where you struggle in the movement very obviously.
Yeah.
Like
me, bottom of the squat.
Well, exactly. You know, it allows the coach, but also the athlete, to become ultra aware of like what needs to be worked on. Yeah. Because you're kind of doing it in slow-mo. Sometimes when you like doing squat at a full speed, you're like, oh, something wasn't quite right, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Yeah. When you slow down the movement, it's like, oh shit, like I'm having a really hard time keeping my knees out on the way down or whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And it's something, it's a conversation I've had with several athletes at the beginning of this training block is, you know, using all your tools, let's say, like using all like the weight belt, the weightlifting shoes and all that stuff. And I'm like, hey, I love a weightlifting belt. I freaking love it, right? You want to put on some weightlifting shoes to feel like you can get lower into the squat. Great, right? But right now we're at the beginning stages of the training block, and we're trying to work on our weaknesses. So if you're strapping on a belt for a tempo back squat early into the program, I'm like, well, maybe you could be working on learning how to properly brace your midline without the belt.
Right.
Like learn how to like build the strength in your midline and in your body, that on the first 6 weeks, we're building that tempo. We're slowing things down. Maybe you might have to go a little bit lighter, but we're refining the technique. We're getting into those deep ranges of motion. You're building strength, not just in your lower body, but in your midline and in your core.
Yeah, because you're training right now.
Yeah,
so
you're training.
It's an opportunity to get stronger without using the belts.
And there's almost... it would be really hard to argue. I don't even know if there's an argument on this, but it'd be really hard to argue that you could lift more without the belt than you can with the belt, right? Did I say that right? Lift more.
You can lift.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
More.
You can absolutely lift more with the belt than you can without. Like, there's no doubt about it, right? So, yeah, even if you're doing tempo, you want to put on a belt, you're going to be able to lift more. But my theory is like, let's keep the tools back there. Let's first 6 weeks work on the tempo. The next 6 week block. So how are we going to progressively overload this?
Right.
Well, now we're going to scrap the tempo. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with a 4x3 back squat. No tempo, just squat down. You can use that little bounce in the bottom if you want, and stand back up. And you're not going to have to hold. You're not going to have to hold in the bottom, those uncomfortable positions. And that's going to be the
feel good.
the first week of no tempo, right? And then I'm going to change the reps. I'm actually going to bring down the reps. I'm going to go from 3 to 2. And we might do 5 sets of 2 repetitions.
Yep.
Right? So that's one way that we can progress. We can even do 5 sets of 1 back squat, right? So if the reps go down, you got to increase the weight on the bar, right?
For sure.
Like physically, you'll be able to lift more, obviously, if you do 1 compared to 2. But that being said, you have to actually lift that 1 that's heavier than the 2, because if you just go into the training block and I lifted 200 pounds for 2 last week. I'm going to take my first 3 sets of 1 and I'm going to do 200 pounds also. It's like, well, no, then you lose out on the training block, that you're not progressively overloading in the proper way. You need to get 205, 210 on the bar, right? Every set's got to be a little bit heavier than what you did last week, because last week we had 2 reps and this week we have 1 rep. Yeah,
like just showing up to the group class. Let's say if our members are listening right now, just showing up and doing the squat session just showing up and doing the squat. Oh my God. Why can't
Squat session.
Squat session. Yeah. Showing up and doing the squat session each week isn't going to guarantee that you're going to improve. You need to be mindful about, okay, where did I end on the last week's set, and what is my starting weight? It's not always about the weight that you finish on your, like, let's say you have 4 sets. It's not about that last set of 3. It's about every single set of 3. So maybe on the next following week, you let's just say it's the same sets, but you increase the weight, not just for your last set of 3, but for the first working set. It's really important that you're as the athlete keeping track of these things in Wodify and appropriately attacking each training session. Because if you just show up and you're like, I always do 200 pounds when I'm squatting, well, you're not progressively overloading.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can, by one way is, like we said in the first 6 weeks of our training block, what we're doing is we're incorporating tempo. Right. So same reps, same sets, same repetitions, different tempo. Yeah. That's how we're going to change it that's how we're going to improve on the first 6 weeks. Yep. On the second 6 weeks, we're going to start to introduce more sets, and then we're going to start to decrease the repetitions, right? So even if we didn't decrease the repetitions, a good progressive overload is like, okay, I did 4 sets of 3 reps at 200 pounds. Amazing. Well, next week we're going to do 5 sets of 3 reps. Can you do 5 sets at 200 pounds, Right. So now you're adding in an extra set, which is, more load on your body here. And that's another way of getting stronger. Or you can add sets and decrease reps, right? Decrease reps, which means
weight goes up,
increase the weight, right? So that's how we get our athletes to build on their numbers in a 12-week training block. And then we switch it up. We don't do back squats every single cycle. In fact, usually we do things at most for 24 weeks, right? Like I said, in the previous 12-week training block, we had high volume back squats. And I think if I'm not mistaken, we only did 6 training sessions out of the 12 weeks where we did 3x8, 3x10, and then 3x12. Right. So I kept the same sets, but I actually increased the repetitions. Right. So our athletes were trying their best to maintain that weight every single week while adding repetitions. Right. And then what we did is we did that for the first 3 sessions. And then the next 3, we did a reset. We did 3x8, 3x10, and then 3x12 again. Right. So they can naturally see, okay, when I did 3x8, let's say I did 100 pounds, and then 3x12, 3x10, 100 pounds. No, I did 100 pounds again. And then 3x12, I did another 100 pounds. That's good because you were actually able to keep the same weight as the reps went up. But now on the second go at it, when I do my second go and I do the 8s again, oh, wow. Like, you know what? 100 pounds feels really light for 8 reps. Maybe I'm going to go 110 pounds. You hit 110 pounds for the 8. And the next time you do 3x10 and it's, you know what? I can do another 110 pounds. And then the 3x12, oh, you're fighting, but you get that 110 pounds, right? And that's a way to also progressively overload in the back squat.
Right.
It wasn't a major priority, so it wasn't as frequent in the training block, but that was one thing that we put in. Yeah, the athletes were exposed to. And that's just for the back squats, right? We have two other major priorities. Number two, we're working on pull-ups as our gymnastic skill. We've been working a lot on the kipping pull-up to be more specifically. And what I've done is to progressively overload our athletes. I have increased the rep range because don't forget, I'm not working a one-to-one basis here. I'm working a one-to-many here. We're in a group setting here. So what I do is I've been for our skill sessions, we put on a timer of 14 minutes. Before that, actually, we do our general warm-up.
Our drills.
We practice some drills as a group, and then we turn on a timer for 14 minutes, and we have reps of kipping pull-ups to do based on wherever someone's fitness level is, whether that's they're working on their actual kipping pull-up. Some athletes don't have their kipping pull-up, and they're working towards getting some, so maybe they're doing some jumping pull-ups, jumping chest to bar, practicing the movement, practicing a few beat swings, and also doing some jumping, whatever that might be. But essentially, every single week, the rep range has been increased. So we started like 4 to 8 reps, and then it was like second week was 4 to 10 reps, third week was 4 to 12 reps. So for some people, maybe they're on the lower rep scheme and they were hitting 4 on the first week, and maybe on the second week they were hitting 5, and on the third week they were hitting maybe 6, right? And what I've been doing is I've been incorporating some accessory pieces around that. For example, working on a lot of like midline hollow positions, arch positions, hollow pull downs, some lat accessory work.
Yeah.
So we've been kind of throwing in that to progress them as well towards getting their kipping pull up. So that's another way. It's just like, hey, let's try to increase the repetitions just a little bit every single week, even if it's just one more rep every single week. And then the third priority that we've been focusing on is barbell cycling. So we've been doing this in 2 ways. We've been doing this in terms of a skill/strength piece at the beginning of class, where we've been working on cycling the barbell in a complex.
Yep. Some spicy complexes we've had recently.
So we've done, like, for example, complex clean into low hang clean, into hang clean, into high hang clean, into a front squat.
Bah.
Do that every 2 minutes for 5 sets
or
or 6 sets, right? That's a lot of repetitions that athletes are getting to spend with the barbell.
Yeah, like once you grab that bar for that first clean, you're holding onto that bar for a good chunk of time.
Yep. And we've kind of changed the complex a little bit. We did that order is from the ground and kind of working your way up the chain. Mm-hmm. Last week we did the opposite. We worked from the top down. So we actually started with the high hang, then the hang, then the low hang, and then finished with a clean from the ground.
The way down was harder?
The way down was harder.
Or maybe it was just me, but I felt like going clean, low hang, high hang easier than going high hang, low hang, clean.
I don't know.
Is there logic to that, or
if there's I think it would be more it would be more a preference.
Okay.
I think maybe did you lift more?
I lifted the same weight, but it was excruciatingly difficult.
It was definitely hard because what I would say is as you go into a complex, you get more fatigued. Right? Now the range of motion from the clean is the furthest range, right? You got to go from the ground to the shoulders.
Right.
Then low hang is from below the knee. The hang is from above the knee, and then the high hang is from like almost just like tiny little hinge and then right up. So it's almost like mid thigh, right? Yeah. So the more tired you get, the less range your body probably wants to do.
Gotcha. That's why.
So if you're thinking, I'm at my most fatigued point of the complex, and now I have to go all the way down to the ground to catch it, then that's a long way to go when you're most fatigued.
Yeah.
Versus like when you have to finish with the high hang, you just have to hinge, jump, and then hopefully catch that bar, pull yourself under and catch that bar.
Yeah.
Right? So there's maybe a feeling of I'm getting more
Like
and more
less
tired,
travel.
and the movement's getting longer and longer and longer and longer as I go.
Could be it.
However, that being said, I'm not sure that if you were a really efficient weightlifter,
I would maybe feel the opposite.
you would probably feel the opposite, because
Gotcha.
the high hang is going to be the limiting factor in the lift.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's
if you-
why I
so
found
if
it
you're at-
really hard starting with that one.
No, you were saying the opposite. You were saying that starting with it was actually easier for you.
I was saying,
Yeah.
just so we're clear, I was saying, why was it harder to go high hang, low hang, clean?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
That was more difficult.
Yes, gotcha.
So working from the way top down, I personally, I don't know if this is true for other people, but I personally found that much more difficult than going from the bottom up.
Yeah. Yep.
But I'm just wondering if there was like logic to that, or it could
Yeah,
just be personal
exactly.
preference.
Exactly.
But
I
what
was
you
saying,
said,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just less distance
But-
to travel.
Yeah, exactly. And in theory, you should have maybe been able, like if you're an efficient lifter, you should have been able to feel better on the second complex, the complex where you start high hang, because you're getting the hardest movement, which is the high hang,
Out of the
over
way
with
first.
right away, and then you're able to yes,
Because you get the momentum factor, which is makes it easier to lift.
exactly. In theory, yeah, you got to go the furthest. Range is going to require the most amount of energy. However, in weightlifting, you're
So
going to be
you
able
found
to
it the
lift. You're
opposite.
going to be able to lift the most amount of weight as you extend the range. Right, doing a clean from the ground, you'll be able
way
to lift.
stronger,
You'll be able to lift way more weight than doing a high hang clean.
For sure.
Right.
And I totally agree on that factor. I was just confused
But
as
you
to
were more
why.
tired
Yeah.
doing that one. Exactly. Yeah.
What was your experience? Which did you find more difficult, working ground up or up down?
I almost thought they were the same. Yeah, I feel like finishing with the
You're just far superior than me.
no, I feel like finishing with the high hang was like, oh
No.
shoot, like,
Finishing with the front squat was the death of me.
yeah, well, that was just a bonus rep in there for sure. Because if you do that, if you can hit the high hang, then you got to be able to just stand up and squat with it.
In theory.
No. Oh, true. Yeah,
It's because I failed on the
yeah,
squat. That's
yeah,
why.
Yeah. But that being said, like getting your last clean being the high hang when you're the most tired, like I found that was really hard, because you're like, I found
it extremely hard as well.
Not only do I have to give it my biggest jump out of all the
But I'm
lifts,
the most
but
fatigued.
I also gotta pull myself under at a rapid pace when I'm at my most fatigued. So I actually found the second one. I do agree that the clean didn't feel as nice, like the bottom rep when you're going all the way down. You're like, shit, I gotta go all the way down
Here
there.
we go.
But I found that the first complex was more challenging than the second go.
Okay.
But so that's one way that we're progressively overloading the
Sorry.
cleaned, is that we're
I got my personal coaching done. Thank you, everybody, for witnessing.
but we're like introducing a lot more repetitions
Yep.
in this case, right? A lot more hands on the bar, going through the motion here of cycling a barbell. We've also done it in a different way, where now we're experiencing it under fatigue in Metcons. So I've been putting squat cleans and hang squat cleans into the Metcons, where people have to hold on to the barbell, cycle through. Not only that, but like after an echo bike, like your heart rate is through the roof, your legs are
After some
already
box jumps.
fatigued, and now you got to like grab that bar, you got to hold on to it, and you got to cycle it, right? So then there's the actual skill of cycling a barbell under fatigue, which is one of the main things. So
We're killing it, basically.
all the CrossFit Max athletes are killing it. But all that to be said is that you should be, if you feel like maybe you're plateauing in your training and you're like, man, I could never get stronger in this lift. Like I can't lift more than this number on the bar.
First of all, erase that word from your brain.
Indeed.
Second of all,
look at your numbers. Like, how are you overloading this movement? How are you progressively overloading this? I mean, this doesn't mean, and I'll even add this, that the more CrossFit you do, the harder it is to progressively overload, let's just say.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a natural curve upwards forever. It's not like you're always going to be able to just
Otherwise,
lift.
Brandon would be cleaning 2,000 pounds by now.
It's not this like, hey, I can lift 5 pounds every single week more than I did the week before, because that's just progressive overload, and it's just not how it works, unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
right?
yes.
But there is a limit that you can push yourself towards, right? And this is why we implement different types of training styles,
Yeah.
right? We do 24 weeks of back squats. And then what are we going to do after that? We're going to switch out the back squats and we're going to do some front squats, right?
Yay!
And then what are we going to do to complement that? Well, in this training cycle, we're doing a lot of unilateral strength training, aka Bulgarian split squats,
Booty gains.
which is a really good isolation exercise for one leg rather than doing a bilateral movement like the back squat, right, where both legs are working. Yeah. So if you feel like you're kind of plateauing, ask yourself, am I doing more sets? Am I doing more reps? Am I adding more weight? Am I putting myself in the position that I feel the most weak? For example, myself, I feel weaker in the bottom position of a squat, right? Am I implementing tempo so I could work on my technique of descending in an optimal position so when I want to go heavy later, I know how to bounce out of that hole, right? Or am I going down and as I'm slowing down, like my knees are collapsing in? Oh shit, drive the knees out. You do that for 6 to 12 weeks. Well, after 6 to 12 weeks of doing that, your body, your brain and your body is going to understand how to put yourself in a good position to get a 1 RM on that bar, like one rep max, and just lift it as heavy as you freaking can, and you're going to see massive gains.
Yeah, I think like from a coaching side, I notice often that people get a little bit attached to the weight that they lift for their last set.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got to 200 pounds today. Yay. But like one of their working sets was at like 100 pounds. And I'm like, that's a waste of a set. Mm-hmm. You want to be really mindful when you're thinking about your weight. It's not just where did you finish on, what was the last weight on your bar and then the weight you say out loud in class. Yeah. It really matters what weight you were doing for all of your sets. So maybe if from week to week, you're like, I can't get past that 200 pounds just yet, but I'm lifting more throughout my total sets. So I'm, instead of doing my first set at 100 pounds, I'm doing my first set at 190. Mm-hmm. You're going to see a vast improvement, even just making those adjustments, not wasting the sets, making sure that all the sets are working sets. Yeah.
I think you hit it hard there, is that they got to be working sets. Yeah. Right. So when we say 4x3, I mean, you could do an empty bar 4x3 and count that as your first set. Put some 25s on each set. Call that your second set. Put a 45 on. Call that your third set. And then put the 45 and the 25. Finish at 185. And be like, yep, I did my 4 sets. Like, no, like that empty barbell did absolutely nothing for your body besides warm your joints and your muscles up.
Exactly.
That 95 pounds you did.
Too easy.
Did almost absolutely nothing to your body besides get your body prepared for the heavier stuff later on, right? Exactly. Like there's no strength adaptation in a 95 pound back squat when you're going to be doing 185 or even 225 or 300, There's something called max tonnage. I don't know if you've heard about this, but this is the total amount of weight where you do your sets times, your reps times the amount of weight that you lifted, right? So we'll keep it easier, right? So for the people who, I'll pull up my calculator over here because I don't want to do all this math here. We'll keep it easy here. Let's just say we had a 4 set of 1 repetition, all right? Now, let's just say 200 pounds would be an absolute PR for you, but we're not trying to PR today. We're not trying to find a 1 rep max. We're trying to put in a solid training session of back squats. So if you were to do 4 sets, 1 repetition, right? And you were to do your first set at a classic 135. That's 45 on each side, all right? It's 135, right? So the tonnage is pretty straightforward. It's 1 times 135, right? Yeah. If you were to calculate tonnage for, let's say, 3 reps, you would do 3 times 135. Yeah. But for easy numbers, we're doing this, all right? So 1 set at 135. Okay, good. All right, next set, I'm going to add 10s on each side. That's a very classic guy thing to do, all right? So you add 135 plus 155. Third set, I'm going to do 185. All right. This is now getting close to my previous PR. Maybe my previous PR was 195, but today I want to hit 200. So I go for 185 on my third set. And then on my last set, I hit 200 pounds, new PR. I've lifted a total tonnage of 675 pounds. All right, so total tonnage 675. That's
keep that in your head.
That's the amount of weight that my body has lifted throughout this strength series. During this training series, not to test your 1RM. This doesn't go for testing. This is just a training series here. All right. So I did 135, 155, 185. Boom, I hit a 200. This is for the person who gets all amped up about them entering their last result here, the heaviest they've done, right? And that would be great on a PR day, a test day, but we're not testing. All right. So let's go. You know that, man, that 185 was tough, but I hit the 200 after. So let's just say I hit 180. Let's say I go for 185. I do a good warm up. I build up. I'm ramping up. My first set is at 185. Second set, I do it again.
185.
I hit 185. Third set, man, I'm feeling it. I'm going for 185 again. Fourth set, guess what I'm going at?
185.
185. The total tonnage for that is 740 pounds. You have lifted more overall weight through your training cycle, and I would potentially argue you got more out of your strength in that 4x1 at 185 rather than thinking, you know what, I just want to, I want to
put it on.
I'm seeing the golden ticket right there. You know, I want to get that 200 pounds, but we're training today. We're trying to get stronger.
It's not test day. Training day.
Right? So that's a big difference, right?
It's like almost 100 pounds different.
You're going from lifting 135, 155, 185, and then 200 to lifting all sets at 185. And man, let me tell you, your body on that second set is going to be like, whoa, shit, like that was hard, all right, but now I got to do it again for a third set. And by the time you come to that fourth set, your body's going to feel like really weak, I guess, after that point, because you're going to have some pretty extreme fatigue. You've hit 185, which is close to your 1 rep max before, and now you got to hit it a fourth time. You're going to grind it out, and you're going to be able to hit it again because you know that you could potentially hit something like a 195 in the past.
I feel like
right?
This conversation is ultra valuable. I feel like we try and talk about this often, but we don't always have time in a group class to go into depth like we've gone here on the podcast. But I think that we get distracted or tunnel visioned towards trying to reach a specific number, in this case 200 pounds, and we forget that if we lay a strong adaptation and foundation during the 12-week block, then you're actually maybe not going to get 200 pounds, maybe you're going to get 205 or 210 when you're actually time to test. And when we're actually testing, that's when you don't need to do 185 4 times. Actually, that would be a really stupid way to test because you'd be you'd be fatiguing yourself, right? In the test day, you want to do it like the first version. You want to reduce the amount of tonnage and creep up to the number with the least amount of fatigue. Yeah. With training, that is not the time to stress about the last number that you're going to enter on Wodify or say out loud on the whiteboard. It's the time to stress your body to its limit on what it can handle throughout all of the sets, because they're all working sets.
Yeah, all sets are valued equally in the training case, in training cases. Yeah. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of insight.
I feel like I got smarter.
Yeah, you feel like you got smarter?
Do I look smarter?
You look so smart, baby.
Thanks.
And beautiful.
Oh, tell me more.
Just kidding.
Say something else. Quick. On your feet. Think on your feet.
I'm actually quite excited. Joking aside, I am excited to see your progression.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
It's fun to see you kicking butt again in Metcons.
Yeah, I did beat Justin in a workout yesterday.
Yeah, you came home. She texted me before.
No, I didn't even get home. I got in the car and I texted Brandon, I beat Justin.
Yeah, take
Love
that,
you, Justin.
But yeah, so hopefully you guys got some good value. We want to end the podcast the same way we do every single week with Client of the Week. Pew, 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 pew. And this client is relatively new. We shouted out his daughter last week. She was one of the clients. There was last week was the kiddos. We did Noor,
Noah,
Noor, Lexi, excuse me, and Noah. This week, I want to shout out Mohammed.
Yeah.
Who is relatively new to the class as well, just like Noor. He is Noor's father.
Yeah.
And he's just been
very consistent.
He's been super consistent. All three of them have been ultra consistent. But he's worked a lot on I've worked a lot with him on his mindset throughout the last few weeks. You know, we say it multiple times on the podcast. We talk about that joking, what do you call it? Self-deprecating.
You always have a hard time finding that.
Self-deprecating jokes about the workouts, about your own physical capabilities, about, you know, how you talk to yourself mentally, or even how you're talking out loud about yourself to other people.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's really worked a lot on that the last few weeks, and I'm noticing a change.
Love it.
And yeah, he's just been ultra consistent since he finished his foundations, and he's starting to open up a little bit more, starting to talk to other people.
Yeah, it's fun.
And he's just it's really cool to see that entire family. But Mo, I know, is really trying to like listen while he's being coached, and he's making just some serious progress, because there's even things like yesterday we had double unders in the workout, and the last few times we've had skipping, he's like, I've just never skipped before. I don't know how to skip, you know. And we've had several athletes at CrossFit Max who have never been able to skip. They've never skipped before, so they just don't. They literally don't have the
capability
the capability of jump rope. And for someone who has maybe done jump rope when they're younger, and then started back when they did CrossFit, it's relatively easy to pick up.
Yeah.
But it is a kind of a higher skill movement that we take for granted. Like, there's a lot of coordination that's involved of like, just
timing.
Don't even talk about the rope right now, but the jumping, right? Jumping and landing very quickly, like that requires a decent amount of skill and motor control to do that.
100%.
Spinning the wrist and then timing the jump with the wrist as the rope is now spinning around you.
And trying not to pee yourself all at the same time. It's crazy.
So, you know, he said like, oh no, I'm not going to skip rope. And I'm like, no, take my rope. Like, you're going to practice. Like, this is a good workout to practice. And he was getting it. He was able to do like 10 sets of 10s.
And once you start to get something that was previously not in your whatever abilities, it feels so good.
Yeah. And anyway, so good mindset. He's working on how his communication to himself.
I love it. And it's going to trickle down into his influence on his beautiful daughter, Nora.
Yeah, and Nuha is killing it also. So just shout out
to
the whole fam there. But Mo, I wanted to shout you out specifically. Keep up the good work. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys got some good value, and we'll catch you on the next one in the next week.
Oh my God, I'm so uncomfortable. I'm so embarrassed for you. Okay, bye everybody. Bye. Hang up now.
See ya.